So this is the team. We're not going to waste too much time on it. I'm Magli, Vittoria, Adrien, Thibaut, and Lester. Sorry, I was thinking whether we had to give our nationalities at the same time or not, because that was the initial directive, but they're written there. Well.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to ask you if you know that in Europe, we are changing our phone even more often than teenagers change their boyfriend or girlfriend. So this is a little bit the issue. Sorry. Oh, no. Well, last week I went to change my phone, actually, and I bought an iPhone 6. I will not ask you if someone of you has an iPhone 6 because you will feel a little bit bad after this. Actually, over there I saw some. But I was really happy about it. It's smooth, thin, cool, sexy. I can take nice pictures of myself. And sometimes I actually feel it's even more useful than an actual boyfriend. But when I went into my classroom, my classmates are huge fans of sustainable development. And they started screaming at me because it was like if I destroyed the entire ecosystem. So I went back home and I made some research. And this is what I found. An iPhone produces 95 kilos of CO2 emissions in its entire life cycle. For 160 million of recycled phones, we have the production and the extraction of tons and tons of copper, silver, gold, and palladium, and they are normally extracted in conflict areas as, for example, the Democratic Republic of Congo. In Europe alone, in 2010, 160 million phones were thrown away, and only 15% of the phones were recycled. So I just went back and I asked to my classmates, what can I do? What can I do to buy a phone that is as cool as the iPhone 6 but is less impactful? And they said, Fairphone. So, ladies and gentlemen, sorry, we are going to tell you an incredible story. Fairphone started in 2010 as a campaign of the Wax Society, and only in 2030 it became a small social enterprise that is based on a fairer economy and is designing and producing some sustainable smartphones. We will speak a little bit more about it.
Thank you. Okay, this is what the value chain for a regular cell phone company looks like. Why Fairphone is so special, in our opinion, is that they actually transformed the value chain. They created two new steps: sales of spare parts and reuse and recycling of old phones, thus creating more value while mitigating the impact of their product. They're also working on the three pre-existing parts of the value chain, sourcing raw materials from responsible partners, improving working conditions at factories, and engaging their customers, telling them not to buy a phone if they don't absolutely need it. So, how does it translate into an original value proposition? Well, Fairphone is actually addressing two customer targets. One, consumers who are sensitive to environmental and social issues. They appreciate being able to pick a phone that has a positive impact compared to the rest of the industry. Second, tech-oriented consumers. They appreciate being able to disassemble and to repair their own phone by themselves. And these two customer targets are actually coming together at the heart of Fairphone's value proposition, that these phones have an extended life cycle and therefore propose an alternative to programmed obsolescence. Now, we've talked a little bit about the positive impact of Fairphone on the social and environmental levels, but what are they doing concretely to be so separate on that level? Well, on the social side, first, Fairphone is refusing to support conflicts when sourcing the 40 minerals that are needed to manufacture a smartphone. That's why they started with conflict-free tin and conflict-free tantalum, and they're planning on expanding this initiative to as many minerals as possible. They're also working on improving working conditions in their suppliers' factories. They're working on a variety of topics such as fair wages, labor representation, access to training, and many more. So we see that Fairphone is doing pretty well on the social side. But what are they doing for the planet? Well, they're starting with design, which makes sense because we know that the design phase is the most impactful on the environmental footprint of a product. They're putting a huge emphasis on longevity and repairability of their phones by providing their customers free repair guides and by selling them spare parts. They're also participating in several reuse and recycling programs for old phones, and they're encouraging their customers to consume responsibly. So there is only one question left. Do they actually manage making money?
Thanks. So let's look at some numbers. Since they began their commercial activities in 2013, Fairphone has sold 60,000 phones, roughly, at prices that are on par with same segment phones, which means that they're not selling at much of a premium. And yet, they've managed to make a 2% margin on these phones in an industry where margins are closer to 0% if your name is neither Apple nor Samsung. So how do they do it? We think that this comes from their cost structure. On one side, they have fewer marketing costs than the incumbents, mainly because they're not spending anywhere near as much on huge advertising campaigns, trade shows, et cetera, Their value proposition speaks for itself, so with small online media campaigns, they've gone a really, really long way. And secondly is their cost of capital. Their shareholders have invested in them as a social enterprise and as such did not expect any return on their investment. And they've managed to finance their production costs and operational costs through the pre-sales of their phone, which means that they have not had to incur any debt for the moment. So we still think that this company may have a few challenges in the future. The first one will be scalability. How do you scale up production while still sourcing raw materials and producing the phone under conditions that are compatible with your mission statement? And then scaling not production, but scaling impact. Today, the first two phones that have been created by the company have gone a long way in terms of sourcing conflict-free minerals, et cetera, but they're still nowhere near being 100% fair. And the company is very transparent on this. So this is going to be a continued effort, and they're going to have to expand the actions that they've taken to other actors in their value chain. All of this said, in a very short time of existence, they've managed to create a very strong community of users and supporters who are ready to pre-order their phones. A strong network of suppliers and business partners that have bought into the ideal and bought into to what they're trying to construct. And as such, we think that Fairphone is really a pioneer in an industry that has been coming under increasing scrutiny and increasing pressure to clean up its act. So, thank you very much.